Hi church, and welcome to Centrepoint at Home. My name is Keith Lynch and I run the men's ministry here at Centrepoint. First of all, I want to welcome any guests or visitors we have online. We're so glad you've joined us today. We've got a great service planned for you. As you are aware, Anzac Day was yesterday, and we have an interview with an active member of our Defence Force and also a member of Centrepoint Church. Tamara McCulloch is going to bring an encouragement around our offering today, and we'll hear another fantastic message from our Pastor Russell. But for now, it's time for some praise and worship. And I want to encourage you, take this time, turn the music off, close your eyes, really engage. Don't just be a spectator. Thank you, worship team.
When the thread of darkness has come breaking in, and the force of fear blows like a violent wind, when confusion strikes and clouds of chaos hit, I know that my heart cannot be held by circumstance. For my eyes are locked on the God who sees the end. So when this world around me cries out, who can stand? I know that I will not be moved. For my feet are planted in you. I will not be moved. For my feet are planted in you. A firm foundation, my solid rock. You can't be shaken, you won't be stopped. You hold me fast, you never leave. You are the hope to which I cling. A firm foundation, my God, you are. Even when the mountains bow to rise in waves, no, the seas of doubt will never make me sway. Yes, I will rejoice within the current's range, singing, oh, that I will not be moved. For my feet are planted in you. I will not be moved. For my feet are planted in you. Oh, and I will not be moved. For my feet are planted in you. And I will not be moved. For my feet are planted in you. Come on. A firm foundation, my solid rock. You can't be shaken. You won't be stopped. You hold me fast, you never leave. You are the hope to which I cling. A firm foundation, my God, you are. Jesus, yes, God, worship you. You're holding me steady. If it floods, I'm gonna be ready. I'm sealed in you. You're holding me steady. In the break of every levee, I'm sealed in you. Oh, you're holding me steady. If it floods, I'm gonna be ready. I'm sealed in you. You're holding me steady. You're holding me steady. In the break of every levee, I'm sealed in you. A firm foundation, my solid rock. You can't be shaken, you won't be stopped. Come on. You hold me fast, you never leave. You are the hope everything, for everything you've done, and everything to come. I will praise you, live to glorify your name, forever anthem your acclaim. Lord, I will sing your praise, and I will praise you in the promise and the pain, for as long as I've remained, still I will sing your praise. Should words fall short, may they fall in honest worship. Till all I am breaks in reverence at your feet. Sing for everything, for everything you've done, and everything to come. Sing, I will praise you, live to glorify your name, forever anthem your acclaim. Lord, I will sing your praise. I will praise you, and I will praise you in the promise and the pain, for as long as I've remained, still I will sing your praise. Come on, let's sing the first and last. Oh, the first and last, the Alpha and Omega, God the great I am, who was and is to come, Almighty One, blessed Father, Son, and Spirit, God Emmanuel is with us, here and now and then, forevermore. You rule in love, you reign in peace, you set me free, you own the cross, you broke through death, took back the keys, your kingdom come, oh the earth will shout with heaven, for you've always held the glory, and you always will forever, and I will praise you, live to glorify your name, yeah. Forever anthem your acclaim. Lord, I will sing your praise. I will praise you, and I will praise you in the promise and the pain. Oh, for as long as I've remained, still I will sing your praise. Come on, let's declare the first and last. Hey, the first and last, the Alpha and Omega, God the great I am, who was and is to come, Almighty One, blessed Father, Son, and Spirit, God Emmanuel is with forever anthem you're acclaimed. Lord, I will sing your praise. I will praise, and I will praise you in the promise and the pain. For as long as life remains, still I will sing your praise. We sing your praise. Oh.
Welcome to Beyond Sunday. As you're aware, yesterday was Anzac Day, the 25th of April, so we thought it'd be a really good idea to interview somebody from the Army today. So please welcome Cindy.
Hello.
Coming to the studio, which is really good for her to be here. I just want to ask you a bit of background, Cindy.
Sure.
Firstly, what did you do before you joined the Army? It hasn't been a lifelong career. What were you doing before that?
No, it hasn't, Nikki. Before joining the Army, I was actually attached to the bank. My last position was a branch business specialist and a relief branch manager. Before joining the Army.
That's a complete contrast.
Oh, it is.
To what you're doing now. So why did you join the Army? Because it's a big difference, a big life change. Why the big change?
Oh, the job in the bank was great. You know, good career progression, and of course, I have to admit the money was good as well. But at the end of the day, you know, I just kept having this feeling that I was meant to be doing something else, and I really wanted to be a part of something bigger, and not just for myself, but to do something that's just bigger than myself. And the opportunity came up to join the Army, and I thought, great, this is the best environment to fulfill that, to be able to contribute and to serve the country.
It's a big change. Well done,
it is.
you. So what role do you play in the Army at the moment?
I'm in warehousing and supplies.
Okay.
Yeah. So we basically look after the supplies in the warehouse and the equipment.
Okay, well done. Now we'll talk a little bit about Anzac Day.
Sure.
Okay, so what does it mean to you personally? Why? Yeah.
Oh, it's a hairy one for me. Of course, you know, it's to honour the servicemen and women in the military, past and present. But because I wasn't actually born here, none of my ancestors were part of the Anzacs. But it's a time for me to really reflect on what's good in this world and what sacrifices have been made to actually achieve that. And also, I don't think a lot of people realize that when a person joins the military, it's not just that person, it's their family as well that actually has will have to sacrifice a lot in terms of being away from each other. And if we think back to the Anzacs back in the day, they didn't have mobile phones. They can't FaceTime each other. So they'll be away for months and even years that they don't actually, you know, they won't be able to communicate or won't have that contact with their loved ones at all. So it's definitely a good time to appreciate that and to really appreciate the fact that, you know, lives were sacrificed, you know, to be able to enjoy what we have today.
Yeah. So my last question is, why do you think it's important for Australia as a whole, like the general public, to stop and just commemorate Anzac Day?
Well, Anzac Day really, when it first came to be known as Anzac, was really because of the collaboration of the Australian and the New Zealand armed forces. And because of their bravery and their actions in the First World War, they earned that title, and that's actually left us with a really powerful legacy. And we commemorate the day because of that, as well as all the other Australian lives that were lost in the wars preceding that. And because of what they have sacrificed, we get to enjoy the peace and freedom that we have today.
So it's, as well as commemoration, it's really saying thank you and honouring that they put their lives on the line on our behalf. So
that's correct.
Yeah, so as a civilian, I say thank you, Cindy, for being part of the armed forces, and I think it's great what you're doing. I love that you've come to Centrepoint Church from Perth to Brisbane, and we have you in our lives, but just honouring what you do in the Army, and just on behalf of us to the whole of the Anzacs, we just say thank you. So
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Hi church, Tamara here. Wow, it's been a minute, hasn't it? I really wish I could be seeing all of you as you're seeing me right now. I can't believe it's already been 6 weeks since we've been able to do church together in the same building. How crazy is that? 6 weeks. Gosh, it's gone quickly, but hopefully by now you've worked out how to connect with your life groups through Zoom rooms. Zoom's an awesome technology that's allowed us to stay in contact through video calls and things like that. But if you haven't had a chance to connect with your life group, or you haven't been a part of a Zoom room, make sure you reach out, because we want to make sure you're still a part of our community and still connected here at Centrepoint, even when we can't be together in the same building. So reach out and we will connect you to a Zoom room. But what else has been happening this week? School went back, right? Kind of. I know most of you parents have just become homeschool parents for the first time, and you know, whether you feel like you absolutely smashed it or it's been really stressful, we are here cheering you on. And the good news is that with the start of the school term means CPY is back, right? So Centrepoint Youth started back on Friday night, and from all accounts it was awesome. I know Pastor Alex and his team have been doing a tremendous amount of work to make sure youth is still happening and still as awesome as ever. But CPY also have Zoom rooms happening. They're doing all-in online games, and on Friday night they even launched CPY TV, which was amazing. So your teenagers were still able to have CPY praise and worship, a message brought to them. They were still able to have youth, again, even though they couldn't be in the same building. So if you've got a teenager, make sure they're connecting with CPY through the Instagram, through CPY TV, and if they're having any trouble with that, they can reach out to their crew leaders or Pastor Al or contact the church, and we'll make sure you are connected. Your teenagers will love it. Make sure they're still connecting with CPY. Centrepoint Kids and Creche is still happening, and they also have their own service happening every week. So the links to their service are being put into our Facebook pages. We've got a Centrepoint Kids and a Centrepoint Creche Facebook page, and it's also being emailed out to parents. So if you've got a primary school age student or younger, and you're looking for that content, just reach out to us and we'll make sure it's being emailed to you. So that's Kids and Creche, and of course, Centrepoint Young Adults has a lot going on as well. Ben and I are loving connecting and having fun with our young adults during this time. We have midweek mixes happening. We've got Thursday theology happening. We've got our Zoom rooms happening. And we also do an after live, which is just an Instagram live on our Centrepoint Young Adults Instagram, 8 p.m. every Sunday night. So, you know, after the night service of church, we do our after live. Lots happening there as well. I think you can see from, you know, all of our ministries that our church building doors might be closed, but church is definitely not. There is still so much happening here. And I just want to take a minute to chat to you and encourage you, church, around our giving and our tithes and offering during this time where we can't be physically present in the same building. You know, you've heard us say before that you don't give to a building, you don't give to a Sunday service, you don't give to a person, you give to God. Right? And God is still very much at work through Centrepoint Church, and you can still play your part in that through your giving. You know, one of the things I've loved the most throughout this past 6 weeks is how many people have said to us, like, I'm so excited, you know, my mum is watching church today and she's never been to church, or, you know, my loved one has decided to tune into church today. We have this Facebook Messenger group chat with all of our young adults. Yes, there is a lot of people in that group chat, but almost every week someone is posting in there, hey guys, prayer request, you know, my mom or my friend or my work colleague, you know, my loved one has decided to watch church today. please pray that God really speaks to them. And so, I would say that more than ever before, God is using Centrepoint Church to reach unsaved, unchurched people with the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And it is really exciting, right? Not even a pandemic can stop what God is going to do. And, Centrepoint Church continues to be a vessel for God to share his gospel message. And as I said, you can still play your part in that through your giving. Now, we recognize that this pandemic, COVID-19, has not just been a medical crisis, it has not just been an isolation crisis, but it has been a financial crisis for some people, and we completely recognize that. I just want to encourage you that it has never been about how much we give, but just that we're giving, right? When we give to God out of our finances, we make a declaration of faith that it is in him that we trust, that he is our provider, right? Not our jobs that might be here today and gone tomorrow, not the government, but it is God who is our provider. And that's the declaration we make as we give. This makes me think of Pastor Russell, right? Whenever he prays at the end of our offering messages, quite often he'll say, God, whether they give out of their lack or out of their abundance, bless them and bless what they give, right? Because it's true. We do give out of our abundant times, but we still give out of our lacking times as well. And that's really where our declaration of faith comes in, to say, God, I trust in you. Not these things that are fleeting and passing, but we put our trust and our hope in the certainty and the sovereignty of God. So church, be encouraged. God is still very much at work through Centrepoint Church, but he's also still very much at work in you, right? And he cares for you individually and cares for you personally. I just want to read a verse to you from Matthew 6, 25 to 33. Many of you will be familiar with this passage, but I think it's just a really great reminder in this time about God knows our needs and he cares for us. Let me get it. Now this is Jesus speaking, and he says, "That is why I tell you not to worry about everyday life, whether you have enough food and drink or enough clothes to wear. Isn't life more than food and your body more than clothing? Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And why worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing, yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for wild flowers that are here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow, he will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? So don't worry about these things, saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers. But your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. Seek the kingdom of God above all else, and he will give you everything you need." So again, church, be encouraged. God is still at work in Centrepoint Church, and you can play your part through your giving. But know that he is also still very much at work in you. He cares for you, and he knows what you need. I just want to say thank you for continuing to faithfully give in this time. Well, it's been really great to be with you today, and I really look forward to catching up on all of those hugs and handshakes as soon as our doors open again. I'm going to hand over to Pastor Russell now. Thanks.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Centrepoint at home. Wish I could be with you face to face, but just want you to know that we're praying for you, thinking about you, and absolutely doing our best to make sure that you're connected in some way. In fact, if you're, maybe you haven't been a part of this before, maybe you're not a part of Centrepoint Church and you're just watching in today, there is a little button down on your feed on your screen. If you press that, just follow the links and you can connect with us if you would wish to do so. Also, while we're watching this, I hope the kids are enjoying the kids video. Just a big shout out to the kids team and the production team and just putting that together for the kids. Hope they're enjoying it, getting great feedback. So well done, kids team. And also just can I just say, I just want to give a big heads up to Ben for last week. That message was outstanding. I'm sure you would agree. And I'm really sorry I don't have any doubles of me coming in today, and I have it on very good authority that one of me is more than enough. But that was a great message, wasn't it? Well, today, as you would be aware, hopefully, is Anzac Day. And let me start with the scripture. It's John chapter 15 and verse 13 says this. It says, "Greater love has no man than this, that he would lay down his life for his friends." You know, Anzac Day, the 25th of April, it's the anniversary of the first major military action fought by the Australian and New Zealand soldiers during the First World War. And it's also become a day where we remember all of our servicemen and women in all of the different conflicts that Australia has had over the years. And the thing that we particularly remember the most, and I think the thing that particularly touches our hearts the most, is the incredible sacrifice that they made on our behalf. And their sacrifice was great. You know, they left homes and families. Many of them left a wife at home with small children, or a mum or a dad, and they left that which all it was familiar. They left the comforts of home. And many times they sacrificed their health. It was the ongoing casualty of the world wars, where people for many years would suffer for the rest of their life with their wounds, and then with their mental health, all relating to what they'd experienced. And of course, the ultimate sacrifice that so many of them made was with their very lives. And most of them were very, very, very young men. I remember many years ago, back in the 90s, my wife and I, Nikki and I, were travelling through Europe, and we were driving through Belgium, and Belgium has lots of Allied war memorials and war cemeteries, and so we went to one of the war cemeteries, and at the front of most of those war cemeteries there's a little gateway, and inside that gateway there's a little box, and it has a book in it, and it has the name of the known soldiers that are buried in that graveyard. And it was a wet, cloudy, cold day, very foggy and misty. No one else was around, so I took the liberty of taking the book out of the box and went back and sat in my car just nearby with Nikki and just had a look through the list of the names. And as I looked through, I found two names from where I had grown up in Victoria, in the Kiwal Valley, it's called, and I found two names of young men. The one, I think, if I remember rightly, was 18, killed in action. The other one was 21, of local families from our area. And I remember sitting there just being overwhelmed at the weight of these young men who were even then far younger than me, who died in some muddy, bloody field a long way from home, a long way from their loved ones. And just the immensity of their sacrifice was quite overwhelming. I remember feeling very emotional about that. It was a very emotional experience just to be there. So we would agree today that their sacrifice was enormous, but what their sacrifice did was it built for us a platform in which to live our lives. Just thinking through what that might mean, they defeated tyranny. I think about soldiers in World War II, in the Kokoda Trail in Papua New Guinea, fighting the Japanese army, the Imperial Japanese army, which was looking at invading Australia. And they rescued us, they defeated tyranny. With that, they gave us freedom, freedom that we so often take for granted. We celebrate and we're so used to the fact that we have freedom, but it come at a great price. Peace. Peace came with a fight. Peace came with a battle, and there was a lot of sacrifice involved in bringing us peace, to have the platform of peace for us today. And really, I'm sure you would agree with me today that it built us and it gave us the opportunity of a better life. There's no such thing as a self-made man in our country. And I don't really care how successful or unsuccessful you are, but if you ever think that you are self-made, you need to know today that we all stand on the platform built by the sacrifice of our forefathers. And that's the way life works. You know, our parents sacrificed for me and for you so that we could have opportunities that they never did. We've got many people in our church, and there's many people in our nation who migrated to our nation and did so at a great cost. They left, family that they loved. They left behind a home that they had, or a place that they'd grown up and lived in. They left behind their pets, and for many of them, they left behind businesses and lost large amounts of money just so that they could come, so that their children could have. They built a platform for their children to have a better life that they knew that they wouldn't have where they were. And so the sacrifice of the parents builds a platform for their children. And one day when those children, have got that job and have that degree and live in a great life, I hope that they remember the fact that they're standing on the platform built by the sacrifice of the parents. And I think to highlight how important this is, we have to look at the opposite. You see, the opposite to a sacrificial life is a self-centered life. And, a self-centered life, a life that's all about me. It's all about my life. It's all about my happiness. It's all about my rights. It's all about my career. It's all about, it's about me. Where a sacrificial life builds a platform for other people to build their life on, a self-centered life leaves a hole. It digs and it leaves a hole. And other people have to make up for what you have taken for yourself. It's a bit of a trivial example, but I think a very poignant one. Just recently we had the whole incident of the toilet paper theft, where self-centered people, fearing for themselves and not caring less about other people, they made a rush on supermarkets and were filling their house with good old dunny roll. And kind of their self-centeredness left empty shelves. And, people who simply went in for their normal supply had nothing. So there was things to be made up for. And so the question I want to ask us all today, in the context of Anzac Day, a day where we recognise that we are benefiting from the sacrifice of others, do you want your legacy to build a platform? Do you want your legacy to be one that builds a platform or leaves a hole? Do you want your legacy to build a platform, or do you want a legacy that leaves a hole? I'm a plumber, as you know, by trade. Many of you would know that. And I spend a lot of time digging holes. I know holes. And in fact, I'd dig one hole and I'd have to dig another hole to bury the dirt no, wait, that's not the way it worked. But I do know about holes. And I know holes are, they're pretty well only good for burying things in. And some of you might have felt that you've been buried in the hole of someone else's self-centeredness, where you're trying to get your way out of something. Holes take a lot of work to fill in. It's hard work backfilling a hole. And then when you've filled it in, all you've done is you've built the hole back to ground level. It got you back where you should have been in the first place. And then it takes a long time for that hole, the area around that hole, to become stable again. And so a platform, on the other hand, that's something quite different. A platform's something to stand on. A platform is something to build on it. A platform can launch you into life. It's solid. It's a foundation in which you can stand. And the reason our servicemen and women built a platform for us is because that they lived, let me say it again, they lived a life of sacrifice. So here's what I want you to get this morning. If you want to leave behind you a platform, not a hole, but a platform. And I'm not talking about just when life is over, but I'm talking about behind you right throughout every day of your life. I want to encourage you to live a life of sacrifice. You see, you and I, as followers of Jesus, we're actually called to live a sacrificial life. 1 Peter 2:5, it's a scripture that if you've been involved in Centrepoint Church for some time, it's a scripture we spent quite a bit of time on in the last few months. And it's 1 Peter 2:5, and it says, "You also, like living stones," we're living stones, "are being built into a spiritual house." How does that happen? It says, "offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ." The way we're never meant to be just passive stones where the thing that we do is we offer spiritual sacrifice. What does that mean? It means we sacrifice for things that have a spiritual and eternal value. And so in days of looking after, number one, in the days of, the rights of the individual, and it's all about me, don't forget sacrifice. Let me say that again. Don't forget sacrifice. You see, sacrifice stands in stark contrast to current culture thinking. And let me tell you some of the effects that a sacrifice has. When you live a sacrificial life, it gets people's attention. Where people won't take notice of a lot of other things that we do. They might not take notice of our worship or even some of our teaching. When they see you living a life of sacrifice, it gets people's attention. It's very attention getting because it stands out. It earns people's respect. We respect people that sacrifice for a goal. We respect people who sacrifice on behalf of others. And the reason why we respect it is because deep down inside of all of us, we know that that's something that we need to do. That's something that we would like to do. It's something that we were actually born to do. And sacrifice shows what we really value. What we sacrifice for, it's not just it's not our words, it's not just our platitudes, it's not just what we say we believe, but what we sacrifice for is actually what we truly value. You see, not only are you and I called to live sacrificially, but we're actually called to be a sacrifice. Let's ramp it up a little bit. We're actually called to be a sacrifice. Romans chapter 12 verse 1 says, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, for this is your reasonable act of worship. Let me say it again. Offer your bodies a living sacrifice because this is your reasonable act of worship. You say, well, I don't like the sound of that. I just want to live my life free. Who wants to sacrifice for something? I just want to live my life as a free man or a free woman. Hey, don't be fooled. We all sacrifice our life for something. We all lay down our life for something. You might say, well, look, I'm just living life for me. I'm not giving my heart to anybody, or I'm not giving my heart to anything. I'm a free person. Listen, if that's your mantra, if that's what you think, you will sacrifice your life in loneliness on the altar of your independence. We all sacrifice our life for something. So how do you and I live our life, the kind of sacrificial life that I'm talking about here? Let me give you some practical advice, practical ways in which you do that. If you want to live a sacrificial life, which remember builds a platform for others to build their life on, one, you've got to have an eternal mindset. An eternal mindset. You've got to see beyond your now. You've got to see beyond your personal troubles and your day-to-day things that you deal with. You've got to see something. In fact, John 4 verse 35, it says, Jesus says to his disciples, he says, lift up your eyes and see the harvest. In other words, you've got to get your eyes off your day-to-day circumstance. You've got to discipline your eyes and you've got to see something that you didn't see before. You've got to see through just your own temporal day-by-day troubles, and you've got to see something eternal. 2 Corinthians 4 verses 8 says, so we don't look at troubles we can see now, rather, and we've got some troubles now, haven't we? We don't look and see troubles. Let me start again. So we don't look at troubles we can see now. Rather, we fix our eyes on what can't be seen. We fix our eyes on what can't be seen. That sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, doesn't it? But it's talking about things that are eternal. And so the goal for you and I isn't to live forever. The goal is for you and I to leave something that does. You've got to have an eternal perspective if you're going to live a sacrificial life, because otherwise we'll get so tied down with just my troubles today that we'll never get to having an eternal perspective for those around us. Second thing, and it's a little bit of a paradox because we have to have an eternal perspective, but we also have to have a today perspective. We have to have a today mindset. We've got to act upon it and do something today. The Good Samaritan, he had a today perspective. He did a sacrificial act today. It wasn't, others walked past. They thought, well, maybe I'm too busy today. It's inconvenient for me today. And I'm sure it was just as inconvenient for the Samaritan, but he had a today mindset and he did something today. If we're going to live a sacrificial life, it's not in the one big, we sometimes think it's kind of like this one big sacrificial moment we make, but no, it comes down to day choices that we make throughout the day. Ephesians chapter 5 verses 15 and 16 says, "Be very careful how we live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity." A sacrificial life is seen in a collection of moments throughout your day. I think it would be good if we had this motto in our life. Today, I will live as if this is the day that will be remembered. I'm going to live my life every day like this is the day that everybody is going to remember. And just imagine for a moment, if this was your last day, who would you call? Who would you forgive? What would you give? What would you do? And I think for you and I to truly have a sacrificial mindset, a legacy that wants to build something for people to build their life on, we've got to have an eternal perspective, but we also have to have a today perspective. And then we sacrifice. What does sacrifice mean? Romans 12:1, I've already said it, it says to offer yourselves a living sacrifice. I want you to notice it says offer yourself. No one else can do this on your behalf. The World War I veterans we were talking about before, one of the unique things about the Australian Army was they were all volunteers. No one was conscripted. They all volunteered. They offered themselves. A true sacrifice is not one that is dragged, screaming and kicking by others, but it's something that comes from within you. You offer yourself. And it says offer your bodies. You see, true sacrificial living is not just about your spirit or your soul. It's not just about what you believe. Your body is how your soul acts in the world. Your body is a description. It's a visible evidence of how your soul is by the way your body acts. Your soul and your feeling, listen to this, your soul and your feeling can do nothing except through your body. And so we offer our bodies. And then it goes on, it says we offer our bodies a living sacrifice, a living sacrifice. We can think a sacrifice only speaks of death. And it is a paradox. And it's deliberately so because we think that somehow by sacrificing we're actually losing. But we're actually by sacrificing we're actually gaining. There is life. The life that you and I were actually created for, the reason why God put us on planet Earth and the reason why we respect people, we respect other people as sacrifices is because that's what you and I were made for. True living comes when we live not just for a self-centered life for ourselves, but we live a sacrificial life for others. And so we offer our bodies a living sacrifice. What does it mean to sacrifice? It means we choose to do less for ourselves so we can do more for others. Let me say that again. We choose to do less for ourselves. We actually forego something for ourselves so that we can do more for others. No one makes a difference. No one makes a real difference in this world without giving up something. Life success is not by what we keep. Success of life is measured not by what we keep, but by what we give. It's called sacrifice. And so I want to encourage you to live that kind of a life. And then it goes on, it says, offer your body a living sacrifice, for this is your reasonable act of service. This is not just for a few fanatics. This is not just for a few super Christians. This is for the body of Christ. This is for all of us. Can I remind you, that's exactly what we are. We're the body of Christ. When Jesus was on earth, he did a whole lot of things. He taught a whole lot of people, but the thing that moves us the most is his sacrifice. The thing that we just remembered on Easter weekend was his sacrifice. The thing that people gripped by is like, Jesus gave his life for me. And well, church, that's what we were created for. We are now the body of Christ. And we are marked by sacrifice. So offer your body a living sacrifice, for that's your reasonable. It's not just for a few, it's for all of us. This is your reasonable act of worship. The greatest worship is offered, not in a worship service, not even if you're leading worship or a part of a worship team. The greatest act of worship is seen when you are decreasing that another might increase, when you are actually sacrificing. So what about you and I today? What legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to leave a hole that someone else is madly scrambling to fill? Or do you want to build a platform? What about your family? Are you building platforms or are you digging holes? Think about it. What about at your work? Are you building platforms for other people to launch and build their life on, or are you digging holes? Simply just looking after yourself. What about in church? Are we building platforms or are we digging holes? What about during this crisis? Are we building platforms for others? Are we looking for ways to sacrifice, or are we just creating holes? And I want to encourage you today to look for ways to sacrificially, during this time, you know, we've got an eternal perspective, but have a today perspective. Look for ways to sacrificially serve. Look for ways to sacrificially give. Look for ways to sacrificially love. And of course, we've talked about the World War I and II and soldiers' sacrifice, and we're thankful for that. But our greatest example, of course, is Jesus himself. You know, Jesus said in John 10, he said, "No one takes my life from me, but I lay it down." He offered himself. He was a willing sacrifice. And in Gethsemane, the Garden of Gethsemane, where obviously Jesus is going through an incredible trial and a troubled time. And in fact, people, and it's a little bit of conjecture, but they believe that in that garden, Jesus actually had a pre-taste of what he was about to experience. And in that moment and in that place, Jesus he offered himself. He said, "Not my will, but yours." And he willingly made himself a sacrifice. And he became a dying sacrifice so that you and I could become living sacrifices. And in doing so, what did he build? Well, he built a platform for you and I. He built a platform for you and I to have a relationship with his Father in heaven. You see, religion, it's all about, it leaves holes. It's all about people trying to build their own, fill their own holes and make their own. But Jesus, he built a platform. He built a platform for you and I that we could have a relationship with his Father in heaven. And I wonder if you, watching me today, if you've understood that Jesus died on the cross for the sins of the world, but he died for your sin. And he built you a platform so that today you can stand on that platform of grace and sacrifice that Jesus laid for you and I to stand on. And you today can have a relationship with God in heaven. You can have your sin forgiven. You can be right with God in heaven because of the sacrifice that Jesus made. If you want to do that, if you've never done that, you want to do that, simply just pray this prayer. Just pray with me even right now to say, "Jesus, I thank you that you became a sacrifice and built a platform for me to stand on, for me to have a relationship with God in heaven. Please come into my life. Please forgive my sin. I want to make you today my Lord and my Saviour. Amen." Hey, if you prayed that and you want to know more about what you just prayed, you can respond. There's a little, again, with the computer screens with buttons, there's a little button there you can press and just let us know. And we simply just want to help you work out what your next step might be and just encourage you in that. And what about the rest of you today? I trust today that on this Anzac Day, that we can make a decision that we're not going to leave holes. The legacy of our life is not just going to be leave holes for other people to fill, but we're going to leave platforms built upon sacrifice, that we lay down our lives, that we become like the very one that we serve and we follow in Jesus' name. Let me just pray for all of you this morning and today as that message just lands where it needs to land on you today. And I know some people are going through some pretty hard times at the moment. I know we've had people in the church who've just lost people, lost family members. I want to pray for you and any other needs you might have. Why don't where you are in your room, just reach out and just believe with me for a moment. We're just going to pray. Father in heaven, I thank you that you are right with each one of us today. There's no distance in prayer. And Father, I thank you that you're with each one of us today, wherever we may be. We thank you today for your presence. And Lord Jesus, I'm praying and asking now that you would meet every need. Lord, that you would be the comforter to those who need comfort, that you would be the provider to those that need provision. Lord, that you would be the strength to those that are feeling weak. Lord, that you would bring courage to those who are feeling afraid. Father, today I pray, Jesus, that you would make yourself known, that right now in this moment your Holy Spirit would be very present in each people's life, I pray in Jesus' name. So Father, we thank you and we love you. We thank you that we can remember your sacrifice. And today I pray that you'd help that message to land in our hearts, that we would be people of sacrifice, building platforms for other people to stand upon. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Russell, for another encouraging message. If you've responded to that message or prayed that prayer, we'd love to hear from you. Hit that response button in the chat or send us a message and we'll be in touch to help you along your journey. To the men, keep an eye out in your emails this week for a YouTube link to an exclusive interview with Gordon Kelly around building family. Otherwise, have a great day. Make contact with someone today you haven't called, and see you next week.